was like, oh, let's see what it's name.
I'm surprised. I don't know how you bring it to. Oh. Yeah, those are small. Okay, maybe. Okay, let's call this meeting to order. Robin Richard is excused. Mike Snowberry, Tyson Clawhatch. Everyone else is here. Let's stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The meeting was submitted to the Green Bay Press Gazette on Friday, July 12th, 2024. The meeting notice was distributed on Friday, July 12th, 2024, to posting to the Bank of Luxembourg Home Office, Luxembourg Post Office, and Casco Post Office. The district's mission statement: we inspire minds, challenge students, and promote excellence. We are Spartans. I need a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll make that motion.
Motion's been made by
I'll
Alex, second by Bob. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. The Board of Education recognizes the value of public comments on educational issues and the importance of allowing members of the public to express themselves on district matters. Prior to making a public comment, individuals must announce their name, address, and group affiliation. Each speaker's comments are limited to 3 minutes. All statements are to be directed to the presiding officer. No person may address or question board members individually. Speakers should not expect an immediate response or reaction to their comments. Are there any comments? We have a very small audience today. Our next meeting dates, subject to change, are August 21st, 2024 at 7 p.m. in this room, the multi-purpose room. And September 18th, 2024, our first meeting is at 6 p.m. and it's a special meeting with municipalities, and it will be followed by our school board meeting again in this room. Board administration opening comments. Board members?
I just wanted to compliment Lauren Schumacher and her chaperone crew for a fabulous LC abroad trip. It's a lot of kids to manage, and I think they had a really good time. So, very organized. EF Tours, I think, was very good. So,
That's right, you went along.
Overall, great trip. That's just really cool.
Okay. Good to hear, and good to hear when we don't hear any negatives from anyone. Okay.
I'd like to introduce the board to Jane Matthews, who is our new Director of Special Ed and People Services. Jane comes to us from the Pierce School District, and where she was a program support, I don't say teacher, coordinator. So, yeah.
Well, welcome to
us. Yeah,
thank you. Excited.
She's been really great. She is just diving right in with both hands, and had been actually working prior to the start of her contract, just so that she was up to speed for July 1st when she actually started. So really excited to have her aboard.
Good.
Happy to be here.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. Items under the consent agenda are considered routine and will be enacted under one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items prior to the time the board votes, unless a board member requests an item to be removed from the consent agenda for separate action. Do I have an approval?
So moved.
Motion by Dave. Second. Second by Bob. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Administrative reports.
As we're starting to come to the tail end of our custodial and cleaning tasks that we do every summer, I know one of the things that we had talked about is possibly having a maintenance coordinator in lieu of just a lead building custodian, and that opportunity might come up sooner than we had thought. We know we have somebody retiring at the end of next, or has indicated they're gonna retire at the end of next year, but we might have an opportunity to do so a little bit earlier. Is that something the board still would be interested in?
Well, I don't know how we're doing it right now with ordering things at the schools. Are we all ordering different items throughout the schools? Or are we all on board with one person? Or are they all getting together ordering the same thing?
So we're starting to. So last year is when we started with the paper toweling dispensers and the paper rolls. Now every school is working on the same one. But it does take a lot of work to get through and go, because some of them have their own products that they like. Kind of would be nice with that position for them to oversee that, and that one person would be purchasing versus all four.
I mean, I just see no reason that every school is ordering
Yep.
different things.
Yep.
It's just-
And Rebecca's been in charge of that. We've expanded her scope a little bit to be able to help coordinate that, because she does, oversee the purchasing.
I guess it would be nice to know the difference in money that we'd be paying the coordinator, because he'd also be head custodian, I take it, doing something. He wouldn't just order it.
Correct.
He'd still be head custodian.
Correct.
And to know the kind of the money savings we're gonna have, maybe it's just toss up, the savings that we have on the products that we buy in bulk
That would pay.
would pay his extra fee to be the coordinator.
Okay, so I'm just checking to see if there's interest in pursuing that a little bit
I think
further.
so. I think we should look into that.
All right.
Anybody else?
I'll go since I wasn't here the last time, and I apologize for that. I don't know how much Joella told you, but I was playing volleyball, and I got stuck in a storm and ended up being horrible. They don't cancel for anything, and it's outside sand courts, so we played through it all, but I was covered head to toe in mud by the end of it. I had clothes to change into, but I need to go home and fully shower, so I appreciate you letting me join virtually. So since summer started, I've been busy just kind of closing shop for the year with teachers, kind of reflecting on the year. We had one leadership meeting so far where we reflected on our school success plan from the 23-24 school year. And I'm very proud to say that the staff crushed it this year in terms of working really hard with the students. We met both of our goals in reading and math, and in behavior. The behavior one's just a little bit harder to track because it was a little bit more subjective, but I know I mentioned in a previous meeting that we had 82% of our students meet a 1 year's growth in math on iReady, and we had 74% of students meet a 1 year's growth in reading. So we met both of our goals for this year, and actually reflecting on the last few years, this is our highest data in 3 years. So that's really exciting. Again, the staff worked incredibly hard this year, and it showed. So that's fantastic. We also had a Spartan Way meeting where we reflected just on behavior practices from this past year. I'm sure you heard I'm a pretty tough disciplinarian, I guess you could say, in some regards. I just like to run a tight ship, but I think that also paid off quite well. We tracked behavior data more closely this year than we ever have before, and I do feel like kids really understood the expectations when they came to school every day. So both teams are really satisfied with where we're at, and we're excited moving into this next school year.
Anyone else?
I don't have a lot. I reported out last time about some of our goals for the year and so forth, but I can say that summer is going by very fast. Our cleaning crew is is on target for having things ready to go. The new doors that were approved by the building and grounds to be replaced actually went in today, so that's a good thing. One thing that I'm very happy about is we were able to find and hire, and you just approved them, on evening custodian that we've been looking for since December. So that was a nice addition. Then just been taking a little time off and gearing up for Forms and Feast Day, which is already in 2 weeks. So things are going fast, and once you hit that 4th of July, it's a very steep downhill grade to get to the school year. So yeah, things are coming together, and happening very quickly, so.
Yeah, before you know it, it'll be
Mhm.
first day of school.
And I was gonna look, but maybe by the end of the meeting, I'll figure out how many days till Christmas here.
More like 5 months.
I'm just gonna jump in really quick, sorry. Both Pete and I are probably going to be late on the 21st. We have open house, 3 till 7 p.m. that night. Yes, so we'll get here as soon as we can.
That makes school really close.
Yes.
It does.
Anything, John?
What I would update from last month is it's still scheduling kinds of things, which I reported on last month, but I'll share with you something I shared at our last admin meeting. For those of us that have been doing this, I'll say a while, longer than Heather.
Not hard to beat.
Summers used to be like a ghost town. Like as soon as the kids and the staff left for the summer, they were gone and it was quiet and you kind of got used to that. And then there would be a feeling like late July, early August when you're waiting for the noise in the building again. The last couple of summers haven't been like that. And they haven't been like that because of the flex time now with the staff, to be honest. And so there's been more staff regularly in the building. And even though it's different, it's becoming like a new normal, I think. And the conversations that we've been able to have, like when the staff are in, they're focused on their things, but then they pop in and you can tell they've had time to think about X, Y, or Z. And then we can have some of those thoughtful conversations when during the school year where, 100 miles an hour and our hair's on fire kind of a thing. So I see that as a good thing. It just occurred to me here before our last admin meeting. And so I thought I would share that with you as well. Kind of our new normal.
So last week I attended it's called a water retreat. I was voted to be a District 4 rep for our National Director Association. So it was all the district reps and the executive board and the gals. So just really excited to work with that group and grow in my leadership. So yeah, it was some fun and some getting ready for the convention in November. And then I'm hosting a coaches clinic on July 31st, so I'm hoping to get quite a few coaches there. Having a fellow athletic director, Jim McClure, come in. He runs well-known clinics, so the coaches they have kind of voting on what topic they want them to cover. So, and at that time, we'll kind of introduce Cole as our new speed and strength guy that's coming in. He's working with Cam right now. That will be that transition. Cole will be our new speed and strength guy. Full time, and then Adam is also leaving, and McKenna Angibus is the new athletic trainer that they've hired, and she's kind of been coming in a day or two a week. So yeah, the kids are working hard in the speed and strength, and football will be here for an hour.
So someday you're going to wear one of those jackets that say WIAA.
Oh, I have WIAA. I have a lot of one.
Oh,
I've several of them. I've been around a long time.
I mean, that used to be the big thing at, the basketball and everything else.
Yeah, because being in this role, I'm part of the sports advisory with WIA. That I've been doing the last couple of years because I was a checker.
Anything, Ruben?
What would be mean last? That's true, but you have an excuse. You're new. I'm pretty much working on audit. The final audit is July 31st. They'll be here 2 days, and so Dawn and I have been just prepping to get that finalized. We did balance out June just last week, so you'll have the financials in August for sure. But now it's just getting the remaining entries done and adjusting stuff in Fund 27 special ed so that we get more aid back. And then sending everything over, so it's been my days.
I probably should have commented on more opening comments instead of waiting, but on CISA 7, they do have free mentor training coming up both July 30th from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. and August 5th. So if you're aware of anyone that wants to go in for mentor training, get signed up for that. The other thing is CISA 7 just finished had the report from their auditor that went fairly well for CISA, especially with the changes in the admin program that's been going on over there. So That's the CISA report.
There've been a lot of changes there.
There have been, yeah, and I really like the changes that have come on through.
Yeah, it's not CISA old.
No, it is not.
Okay, discussion item, sale of the land in Casco.
Right, so, where we currently are is, kind of in a holding pattern a little bit. So, the purchaser had a 90-day financial commitment statement on the offer to purchase. And so if you go by the original day that the offer was submitted, right now, today, we're at 98 days. But if you take into consideration, we had pushed our meeting back, so we were a week into the timeline a little bit, in reviewing the bids. And then we sent it to the lawyer because we wanted to do the counter offer and clean up some of the language and be a little more specific in the offer, and then to get the offer to the potential buyer, and then back and then to the title company. So that really was May 15th. So if that's the case, then it's been 9 weeks, and at 7 days a week, it's 63 days. It seems like the purchaser or the prospective purchaser is having difficulty with funding. I've asked multiple times for him to contact. We have a title company that we're working with to do the closing, and gave him the information multiple times about who we want to use for the title company, asking who is the lender going to be, can you send your lender information? Oh, yep, don't worry about it, it's going to happen. Talk to the title company. They said no, they haven't heard anything from them. And so the last communication was the prospective buyer asking to extend the 90-day window. And I said I'm sure that the board would be amicable to that, because it was a good offer, provided though that we finally actually have a lender locked in, that we're just waiting for that loan information to be processing, which takes about 45 days. And it's been crickets yet again.
I would think we probably are tied to the 90-day from that, when you say May 15th, or not when we first started the last.
Correct.
There. So we're not beyond our 90 days at this point.
I would say not.
Yeah. Okay. Well, hopefully we hear from him.
It's just weird that he's not giving us his loan.
Yeah.
Bank.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because he doesn't have one yet. Probably looking for financing.
He did ask about marketing the land and prior to him purchasing it, and Linda and I had a discussion, and neither one of us were in favor of that, because then what happens if he really tries to sell it but doesn't own but doesn't own it? There's lots of issues with that.
So basically, by next month meeting, that would be the hard deadline.
That would be the hard deadline.
And at that point, if we feel like an extension is warranted, then we could extend it at that time, correct?
Right, but again, unless he has the
But
lender
we
locked down, and
something,
that information's at the title company, and we're just waiting for the loan paperwork to go past. How much longer are we gonna wait? Now, the bonus here is that, the land was sitting there, the land is still sitting there. We don't have to sell it. Usually just at this time, land prices are pretty good. But we bought the land for $150,000 in 2008. So, that there's a minimum threshold, for the purchasing as well.
The way land prices are going, yes.
And there had been conversation about, why don't we subdivide it and sell off individual lots. I've never done that. I don't know how to do it. We would have to get a realtor or somebody else that knows how to do that, if that was something we would even want to consider.
Well, it's something to talk about. Robin Richards is really good at that stuff. So, if that's the way we're meeting, we can always just.
But we'd have to spend money before we could even make money.
Well, depending on what we do. There's a lot of options. We might not even do the roads or nothing. We could just do it a little differently. And I think it's a little bit of this.
It would all depend too with the village.
Right.
Right. But that is where we are.
So we still own the land.
Yes.
Okay, discuss and approve the 2024-25 NWTC auto program. That is in your packet.
I'll make a motion to approve that.
Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. The diesel program with NWTC.
I'll make that motion to approve.
Motion's been made. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Discuss and approve Make Best Buddies an advisor paid position.
So Best Buddies has been more of a volunteer advisor position, and so those advisors have asked if it could become a paid position. And so Troy had looked at the whole pool of money that's used for advisors, and previously we had made some switching. We have a club that was not active, and so we moved that advisor money to a different advisor position, and so he had some money left in that pot that was just sitting there, and so that's $690. So we're seeking to create a paid Best Buddy advisor position with the pay rate of $690. So there is no increase in the pot of money that we use to pay advisors.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Question. Says that mock trial, what's that costing? Are there paid? It looks like there's paid advisors for that.
Mock trial is $783.93 right now.
So Joel, would that stay on where it would increase as the base increases? Because that's how our other positions.
Right. But the original pot of money that he had, that because of the changes the way we made previously, there was extra money in that pot. So yeah.
But it will increase.
Yes.
Yep.
As all
everybody
advisor
else.
positions do.
So the Best Buddies is gonna cost more than what the others were costing. Am I understanding that correctly now? I thought it was gonna be a wash.
Okay, so in the the community problem solvers group no longer exists, and it was discontinued. And there were no other teams to compete against as a community problem solver organization. So it was replaced with mock trial, which is more of a viable option for student competition. The funds to pay the community problem solver advisor are still part of the existing budget, and the remaining portion could be repurposed to pay the student Best Buddy advisor. The amount paid would not exceed the current budget footprint.
It's the same.
Because there's
It's
X money in the
$690
pot.
every year.
Well, all of our advisor positions go up when the base rates go up, and so do all the coaches. And we have that figured in as we go from budget year to budget year.
But the net of this is gonna be, isn't gonna be an additional, it's gonna be following
part of-
everything else that's part of it.
Correct.
Okay, that's what
Okay,
Who made the motion there?
Lyndon did.
I did.
And I seconded.
Yeah. So a motion's been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Discuss and approve the notice of academic standards for the 24-25 school year to meet state statute 120, I can't even read numbers, 120.12 section 3 regarding the notification of the district's academic standards pursuant to section 120.12 subsection 13B of the state statutes of the list and description of student academic standards that shall be in effect for the 24-25 school year, as said list has been presented in written form in the board's packet of supplemental materials for this meeting, with said academic standards representing the board adopted standards that are required under section 118.30, section 1Z, or 1G, subsection A of the state statutes, as well as the board-approved standards in the additional specified academic content areas. Got that?
That's a lot.
Do you need an oxygen mask?
Fastest we're getting through Mike's stuff, so.
If Mike was here, he would wanna go ahead and say, by the way, this one is, and
Yeah,
this one
yeah.
and this one is, and therefore, I'm making
Yeah,
a
that's
motion to
right.
approve it before he shows up.
Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. You are very true on that, by the way. I thank you, Mike, for being absent. Discuss and approve the roof replacement, God, I can't talk, over Heritage Multipurpose Room at the high school.
You wanna talk about it? Well, I guess you guys saw the leak when it was in here, right, at one of the meetings? So, yeah, so we.
And then there's another one by the
Yeah.
TV, and actually we had interviews, I don't remember if it was yours or Tyson's, and the paint was actually bubbling out. So like you almost wanted to take a pin and just pop it and see what's gonna happen. But water was draining onto the floor, and so there's severe leakage in the roof over the section.
So we did ask Steve Headkey, head maintenance custodian, to get quotes. So he got them from Security, Lukey, Crafts, and then Warner Commercial. Warner came in the smallest bid, and that is the one that did the Casco roof above the band. And they did really a nice job there. I know Don Family's a fan of them as well, and so I definitely recommend going with Warner Commercial.
Other than that, I'm surprised that Crafts and Warner didn't give references. You know, that's strange.
Yeah, no.
Maybe Warner figured we had to do work.
So that, yeah, that could be.
Yeah, this section is just two for building and grounds, funds available for 24-25 years. This is
Well,
coming out
that's the
of
thing.
24-25
Yes.
budget.
Well,
Yes.
usually this would go before buildings and grounds and then go, but this is, we want to get this done. If we can get the work started before kids get in the building, that would be great. I don't think we're gonna be able to do that as quickly as we'd wanted to, but we're trying to get this through quickly. This is something that was on our long-term facility plan. It's just because of the severity of the leak that accelerated its place on that plan. For our capital maintenance purchases this year, we have a budget of $150,000, and this is going to be 92 plus. So that means we're going to have around $68,000 for maintenance for the rest of the year. However, as we're going over budget estimates, the actuals for next year, which Rebecca will talk a little bit about, we might be able to have a little bit more money than just that. But this is something that's, are we going to have more damage with water coming in as we go through winter and the weight of the snow on the roof, and then we're going to have another spring, because that's when the water was coming in. Is we still had snow on the roof and it was raining, and it was getting all backed up. So. To prevent further damage, this is something we really should do, and we're just going to have to watch, what we do as far as capital maintenance projects the rest of the year.
I'll make that motion to approve Warner Commercial Roofing.
I'll second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Discuss and approve the purchase of one Hobart HL 400 mixer for the middle school, high school kitchen.
Yeah, so the mixer, ours broke, and we need another one. So Deb did try to get the 3 bids. She had put it out to a couple different restaurant equipment vendors. Only one bid came back because she wanted the same make and model that we had. And so she didn't know if the other ones were able to get that same make or model or not, but Casenix is the vendor who she's recommending going through. The mixer is paid out of Fund 50, which is a food service fund, and the food service fund currently has a fund balance of about $200,000. That's also the fund that those grow towers that we talked about last month are coming from as well. So food service is pretty self-sustaining in and of itself.
Those food services things, is that after this? Or are we still just remaining after those 3 units? Or is it coming down?
You know, I don't know which number that is, if that was before or after.
I know we're still in good shape here, so that's.
No, we are. We have a pretty good Fund 50 balance, so but that's the reason why we don't want to, Fund 50 has got to stay in Fund 50, and it's okay to have a balance riding in it, because we have a $17,000 mixer. And ovens aren't cheap, and dishwashers are not cheap, and, so, those can be very, those are very pricey items that when they break, you have to replace them right away. So having that balance is a good thing.
I'll make the motion. To approve that.
I'll second. Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Board policies. Would you like them all together, or?
I'd like to make a motion to put them all together.
Just a second. I would ask that we not include 2264 and 2260. Both, 2266 and 2264 in the field together. This one's dealing with Title IX. I request that they be done separately.
Policy 2266, and what was the other?
Number 15 and 16.
15 and 16.
Also
15, 16, and 17. So Bob's motion is for
To approve all but
Number
15 and
7
16.
through 14.
I'll second that.
Okay. So motion's been made by Bob, second by Dave, to do policy, or numbers 7 through 14. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Okay, policy 2266, which is number 15, is our current policy for Title IX. So with the current policy, Viola had suggested some updates to the policy, nothing really substantial within the policy. Some of the changes gave us a little more latitude in the investigation. But both this policy and 2264, I met with the other Kewaunee County superintendents. Since we all use Neola, we all kind of got together and we went through both policies so that we had an understanding of the changes that were being made.
We had a discussion with CISA about it also. Well, third of them were just try and do everything all in one with a single reading. But it's also, if we do it, we would need to amend, can't talk on something. Part of why I wanted to pull that out, instead of doing it. The other thing, that's a third of them we're gonna call a special meeting, and a third we're gonna say, hey, we don't like this at all, and we're gonna see what's gonna play out.
So, well, let's take this one at a time.
Good.
So 15 is just an update to what we currently have. What it also does is we're updating who we're having as our Title I coordinator.
Yes.
So our Title I coordinator is our Director of Special Ed Pupil Services. We don't have to have, before we had to have people's names in the policy. This is allowing us not to have names, but the title of a position into a policy. So we're taking advantage of that, so we don't have to change the policy every time we make a change. The rest of it, as far as options go, we chose the options that align with what we currently have. So for us, really, in our first, for 2266, our current policy, there's really no substantial changes.
Just basically.
On page 15 of it, which is option, it's titled option 2. First of all, most of those are not in our current policy, the ones that are checked out, the informal discipline, formal discipline, etc. I don't have a problem with them,
But these are things that we would,
but on item A3, it's just says lunchtime, it should say lunchtime detention.
okay.
And then on page 16, again, under those options, again, those were not in. Reading through, I don't have a problem with them. I'm just saying, that there are some changes in
Right.
this one compared to the previous.
Right, but then, I mean, these are things that we would do in our normal course of disciplinary sanctions and consequences.
Yeah.
So for, in our operations, this is not a material change.
Correct.
And technically, this one ends the end of this month.
Correct, so that's a good point. Well, what happens is 2266 is still in effect for any sexual harassment claim that took place before August 1st of this year. That's why we still have to have it on our books.
So it doesn't end at August 1st. Something could have happened.
Well, right, but I mean, according to this is the way that it's written.
I would like to know, under the investigation of a formal complaint of sexual harassment section. Sorry.
Okay, you're gonna have to give me a
It's
little
like,
more.
Yeah.
Pages 2, 3, 4, 5, the back of page 6, maybe, where the, no,
There's a draft in there.
What's that? What's
maybe just a different,
what section?
uh,
What does the top of the page start reading?
the informal resolution process is not available to resolve all of these.
Okay, that's side 11.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Mhm.
So in that second paragraph, in making a determination of responsibility, we chose the preponderance of the evidence versus a clear and convincing evidence standard. And I just think that kind of leads the law and order to go out the window. And I don't agree with that decision at all.
That,
It states an equitable standard of proof. Why wouldn't you rely on evidence when someone is going through, that they're being convicted of something, or that,
well, what happened, okay, the preponderance of evidence standard is what was recommended by legal advisors. So, since there are changes in Title I, there's been a lot of legal webinars and legal briefs, and all of them are suggesting that preponderance of evidence of standards is going to be a better choice. The preponderance of evidence standards is an equitable standard of proof and the legal standard by which most civil lawsuits, including civil rights claims, are adjudicated in the United States. The standard requires the decision maker to determine that there's a greater than 50% likelihood that the respondent engaged in the alleged sexual activities. Clear and convincing evidence standard is a higher standard of evidence. So the district we need to show to the decision makers that the truth of the allegations is highly probable. Some argue that using the clear and evidence standard may skew the playing field toward the respondent by enhancing protection for the respondent at the expense of the complainant. So based on those legal definitions and context, legal advice is saying to do the preponderance of the evidence.
yeah, I just don't agree with that. Wouldn't it leave that standard up to the decision maker versus, actually going off of evidence?
Well, you do have evidence, but you're looking at preponderance of evidence versus clear and convincing. So, I mean, it is, there is a difference. And so with the preponderance of evidence, you're looking at just like 51%. And any of this, there is going to be some subjectivity, and that's why there's an appeal process. And then, there's an appeal decision maker as well, in case somebody is disagreeing with what is considered a preponderance of evidence. you know, again, you know, clear and convincing standard of evidence, if and our lawyer, does legal work for Neola as well, our district lawyer, and so if that recommendation is the preponderance of evidence, that is the one that we should choose, given the choice, you know, that's the one that I would recommend, which is what I'm doing here.
Which is what we pay the lawyer for.
Was he specifically addressed on this, or is this simply going because Neola says this?
Right, but he
I
reviews,
understand, but-
he reviews legal, and actually I know that because we had talked about something else, and he was meeting with, I think that they have a couple of lawyers on their staff, but they were all meeting to review this policy, and he was in on these revisions, our district lawyer.
I just am not okay with that, just my opinion.
Aren't we saying, okay, preponderance, or saying if someone is 51%, we can say, we're taking you off why would you want it to be stricter to remove somebody in this case?
Well, wouldn't
You're putting people at risk in school and stuff. Why would you want that?
You're
what
also
about,
putting people at risk.
They
The other
can
way.
they can appeal it though. They can appeal that.
but you're still putting the others at risk as well.
Who are the others?
The respondents, or, right, the people that are having the issues,
The respondents
like-
are people accused of the act.
correct.
Mhm.
I feel that this does not give them, you know, enough rights to defend themselves.
I don't know. I think that's what you have a rebuttal case for it. Yep. I'll make a motion to approve this the way it is.
So is it number 15 only?
Number 15.
Motion's been made, do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Motion's been made and seconded, all in favor?
Roll call.
Roll call. Alex?
No.
Aye.
No.
Aye.
Aye. So, 1, 2, 3. 2, 1, 2, 4, and 2. Okay. 2264.
Okay, so number 16. So our policy, it's a 2 reading policy. So we do a first reading, we do a second reading. However, for policy 2264, which is the new Title I regulations, it took a Title IX, what did I say?
One.
Oh my gosh, okay, because I'm looking at one. Okay, Title IX, to comply with the federal adoption deadline of August 1st, we would need to waive that policy of the two readings for policy.
I would ask that we hold. I don't feel there's any reason to rush with all the injunctions and lawsuits and the probability of it possibly going all the way to the Supreme Court. I don't feel like, you know, due to the nature of the subject, that we should at least have the 2 readings.
So what do we open ourselves up to if we don't accept the August 1st?
So what happens is that the injunctions that are going on are against the Department of Education, not the Office of Civil Rights. So this is a federal regulation compliance issue. And if we don't comply, we are running contrary to federal law.
That's not law.
Well, regulation, the federal regulations, which could, if somebody got snippy, in Office of Civil Rights, that you know, we could have an OCR complaint. So what happened is Neola, and I had put this at your seats so you could see this of what it is. So currently the 2024 regulations are set to take effect still August 21st in Wisconsin. The lawsuits that are happening have not named Wisconsin as Wisconsin has not been a plaintiff has not named Wisconsin or anybody in the Seventh Circuit Court, so which would govern Wisconsin. So there's nothing coming down that way. So they're saying that continuing to provide training and prepare for the applicability of the regulations may support any need to illustrate good faith efforts to comply with the procedures in place when conduct occurred that is the subject of a complaint. Note too that the statutory obligations of Title IX remain unaffected in the current litigation, such that trained and prepared individuals will still be needed to receive, process, and address certain instances of sex discrimination and harassment. So there has been, there was an injunction on a case in Kansas, and in the case in Kansas, there were besides Kansas, Alaska, Utah, and Wyoming, there were 3 organizations that were named, and the court directed those organizations, if they had members or members' children, to provide a list of the school districts in which those children are registered to the court. We are not named in any of those, so we are not named in any. I'm trying to find that. Lots of notes. We were not named in any part of that injunction. Just for your reference, around here, Bayport is. Notre Dame in Green Bay and St. Paul Lutheran in Green Bay are all currently on the list to be included in that injunction. We are not.
We don't want to be.
We don't want to be.
Let them fight it.
So as of right now, this is a vote for Wisconsin.
Right now for Wisconsin it is, and that if we decided not to, we would need to have a conversation with our lawyer, because again, without, with the August 1st deadline, if we do not meet that, then we are out of compliance. And again, the junctions are all against the Department of Education, not other federal agencies.
Joelle, practically speaking, following up on what I think Alex's question was, if the board chooses not to move forward with that particular policy and wait whatever time the board determines, would Jane and the rest of us as a team be working under 2266, or should we be working on what?
We would still be working under, well, we would have to be working under something,
right?
Because the Title IX has not gone away, so
right.
We would be working under the 2266.
And then, but as of August 1st, that policy, unless someone has a complaint from prior to August 1st,
Right,
that
correct.
policy means 0.
Yeah, anything new.
Anything new from August 1st going forward should be 2264.
So other districts are putting the changes on hold, so, I mean, we have the alternative to do that as well. We could speak with the attorney to see what that would look like, or what.
What other districts are putting it on hold?
I don't have them listed down, but I mean,
But you
look it
mentioned
up.
Howard Swamico.
They're on because they're part of this.
Okay.
Yeah.
My question is Howard Swamico incurring legal expenses because they have people that are part of it, or is the organization that their people belong to have the legal expenses?
Oh, I am sure Howard Swamico is incurring legal expenses because of this. I have no doubt.
We don't want to go there.
Well, I don't know.
I mean,
I don't know. It depends on.
no, we don't want any legal. We don't want legal problems coming down. We don't have the money for that.
No.
Be thrown into an injunction.
We understand. I mean, the Title IX it's going to be more work, because what it does is for us. I mean, for administrators, it used to be that if something happened on the weekend, between two kids. It happened on the weekend between two kids. And honestly, as an administrator, I would be like, talk to each other's parents. If you're that upset, talk to the police. It did not happen at school. The kids just happened to be school age, didn't have anything to do with school, deal with it outside. This new regulation brings that we're now responsible for this kind of stuff. That if something leads over into the Monday morning social media, so I mean this is going to be a lot more resources dedicated to investigation. First of all, deciding if it really is a Title IX or if it's just student harassment. And then, do we have to go through the whole Title IX process, which can take up to 90 days? Or is this something that we just, this isn't something, you're right, this isn't something to take lightly, but neither is, that there's a federal deadline of August 1st, and we can be in hot water on that because we're not part of an injunction. Other school districts that are part of an injunction are working with their legal counsel about what should they do.
Is this something that we could change after the fact?
Right. So what happened?
Policy
to
state that.
Well, just one. It's just like any other thing. Like when state law changes, and our policy runs contrary, we change our policy. That's why we have a policy committee and we review policies periodically. And sometimes those policy changes aren't just because of review and update. Sometimes it's because case law changed. Sometimes state statutes change. And so we change accordingly so that we're matching those statutes. Same thing would happen here. If by chance, this, at a federal level gets struck down, then based on whatever is decided with the new regulations, the policy would get rewritten.
Action item 16 really is to waive the second reading.
Right.
Correct.
Yeah.
In order, this one dealing with 2264.
Correct.
Right.
But they kind of flow together. And so, correct. But because the deadline is August 1st,
That's what we need.
16 is to waive the two reading, and then 17 would be to approve the policy.
And that's why I said it ceased to be. Further, when we're doing what we're asking, or what you're asking, that we do is simply waive the second reading. And I know we can do that, that's fine. So I don't have a problem with waiving the second one. So I would make a motion to approve 16.
Okay, do I hear a second?
One second.
Motion's been made and seconded, all in favor?
Right.
Opposed? Motion carried. Now, 2264. Well, and it's like Joellen said on this. So, okay, state law changes, this is gonna change. But as of right now, this is state law,
That's
or
not
going to
state-
be state law.
That's not state law. It's a
Well,
federal
federal,
regulation.
yes, it's a federal.
And depending on the November election, that could all be thrown out, or a lot of court cases, they could all be thrown out.
Yes.
Right, but for now.
For now, it's
Do
this.
we really wanna go down that road in August, September, October, and in November it changes, then we change it too?
I would, yes. I feel that strongly that because of all the legalities behind it, that we don't need to rush into it. We're not losing anything by not doing this.
But we wouldn't, the federal deadline is August 1st. So we would be, we would be arrears of federal regulation that could be enforced by the Office of Civil Rights as a federal entity.
But we would have a minimum of 6 months? And then we would have that much time to work towards a resolution or an agreement. I mean,
What do you mean 6 months?
Yeah, where do you get the
well,
6 months?
you just say 6 months, it would take once a lawsuit or
It takes, we have a timeline within the policy that needs to be resolved within 90 days when you take all the time together for the different pieces.
Oh, so what happens when a complaint goes to the Office of Civil Rights? I mean, there's a timeline that it would take for that process to all.
I have been lucky enough not to have one of those. And I like to keep that record.
But I think it's fair to say that you should be giving
all, other options. They're just being forced into accepting these when, at the end of the day, I don't feel we have to.
Well, when the feds say August 1st.
I don't like it, but
Yeah,
I'm just saying,
yeah.
there's federal airline regulations, there's federal, you don't have to like them, but you gotta follow them if you wanna be in compliance.
I feel like we have the right to put a pause on them. And then we can exercise that right. That's.
There are options to change things, we don't have that flexibility with this.
I don't think so. We weren't given an alternative option, so how do we know if there aren't any, would be my point.
Once again, we rely on, our policy service and lawyers to interpret what those regulations mean. And, I've been sitting in on webinars from the Wisconsin Association of School Boards. I've sat on a webinar with Goodman and Clark for legal. We're actually going to CISA 7 for like a training on the new regulations. So it's, the regulations are kind of like the regulations. The options that we have are indicated throughout the policy, that there are some cases where you have some options. You could do this or this and still be in compliance. And, that's what we do with the policy. We never, because the laws can be so complex. So the regulation for Title IX was over 400 pages. Okay, I do not have the attention span or the skill to go through those 400 pages and interpret the legalities and the case laws that impact that to come up with a policy for the district. So really, I do rely on Neola and what I'm hearing, and the law firms are pretty consistent with what they're giving as far as recommendations. And so, again, when I hear a lawyer say something, and I hear multiple lawyers saying the same things, I have a tendency to believe them. So that's the recommendation I'm bringing to the board.
And that's why we put our faith in the policymakers. I make a motion to approve 2264 the way it is written right now, unless it changes.
I second it. Not that we agree with it, but I think we have to follow these regulations. I don't want to be running up a bill on us, and
I don't want a red flag outside the schoolyard here. Okay, motion's been made and seconded. Roll call. I know you're gonna want it.
Yeah.
No.
yes.
No.
Yes.
Yes. So another 4-2. Okay. Brighter Smiles.
So every year we get a report from Brighter Smiles, just letting us know how many kids in LC that have been served by this service. So this is just a copy of the report.
Some years they've even had someone come and address the board, talk about themselves. So. I say in the past, there's been some years that they've literally had someone come and.
When we first started it, yeah.
And just talk about it.
I think they were trying to get us to keep on.
No.
Keep
Yeah,
on
but this
going.
is a benefit for our kids.
Yeah, it is. Okay, preliminary budget.
All right, I put in your packets, actually, I emailed them to you, so
No,
I didn't have time to look at it.
do you want mine? You can have mine.
I wrote that.
I didn't.
Oh, you're gonna look at his?
I didn't print it off. I assumed they were gonna be here again.
Oh, I printed mine.
So,
Well, and it is just a prelim. I think this July's probably been the earliest we've ever done one, which should be better practice anyway to continue that. So I have a prelim for July revenue, separate page from the expenses. And what I did also is I did a comparison to just what October of 23-24 was. So you could just see some of the changes in areas that either increased or decreased. And I'm just bringing it up for myself.
Yep.
But we are looking at about 2.4 million in revenue. And I had actually Baird review some of this prelim with some of this numbers. It included, right now, Mai Chang is our new SIS coordinator that we took over Dan Bushi's position. So he's been working with her on the pupil count. So currently an estimated pupil count that he gave when working with her was 5 additional students. So this prelim is including 5 resident students. We're looking at about 20 more open enrolled students on top of what we've had. And that is minusing out any high school graduates that we had. So the 2.4 million though is including our 1.8 operational referendum that was approved. It's including the $325 additional per pupil that we are also getting. And that amount total was 575,000. That 325 is based on a 3-year rolling average. And then the 5 additional FTE gave us another 56,000. So that total combination is the 2.4 million additional revenue. Now, all the revenue areas that have asterisks are all unknown. So that's why when we say prelim, it's a prelim. I mean, we have too many unknowns at this point. So this is the best projection that we're going to have at this point. So for example, the property taxes comes off the revenue limit along with the state aid. Now, the state aid, equalization aid, we did receive a July 1st aid estimate, but it doesn't get finalized on October 15th until all the districts have put in their actual numbers from 23-24. And once those are all finalized, that's when they figure out what the state aid is. And that's going to be based on school spending, what surrounding school spending is. It also will affect how your property values are. So it's all those little factors. We won't know property values till October 15th. That will affect the revenue limit sheet. And then you'll see some of the other areas of asterisks, library aid, bilingual aid. None of these are set yet. The per pupil aid is also based off of our 3-year rolling average. So that's not until our 3rd Friday, September count. And all the grants we have listed, they're preliminary allocations right now, not final. So that's what we know just at this time. I mean, is there any questions right now? I mean, so right now we are showing the levy rate a little higher than what we had anticipated, but right now that is based on a flat property values, and we know property values have been going up a lot. You know, the one year we had 13%, and so this will be higher. The property values will be higher, which would lower that mill rate.
So you base this on the old numbers?
Correct. We do until we get more information. Baird usually does give us a projection before the property values come out October 1st. And they're usually like within 0.05, like they're really close. So once we have that, that will update that number even more. But yeah, I mean, even school vouchers affects our revenue limit sheet and the money that we're receiving. That information we don't get till October 15th, so there's so many factors that affect this that don't finalize this until then. That's why I think it is why like Dave's always wanted to have that annual like later too, for this reason of this is so prelim yet. There's just too many unknowns. Oh, you can keep it. No, keep it.
Any other questions? Then I need a motion, because we are not going into closed session. I need a motion to adjourn.
I'll make it in there.
Second.
Motion's been, I was just gonna say, nobody's gonna second this? Motion's been made and second to adjourn. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. I hope everybody signed in. I should have said that before. A couple
Anything
left.
on the mentor training thing at CISA, or do you want to get that already?
I think we get emails on the CISA, don't we?
Yeah, we do.
Thank you.
We got emails on it, but
Mike's pretty on top of that.